This is the way stock car racing comes to Darlington, South Carolina, with crowds filling the stands, ready to cheer on their favorite drivers. Darlington has long been regarded as one of the crown jewels of NASCAR and is nicknamed the Lady in Black, a track that many believe is too tough to tame. It is, however, at its most basic, a 1 1/3 mile racetrack. It's oval misshapen and egg-like. Drivers must daringly decide how to decipher these dastardly turns and race forward into the dark. And let's meet these brave men. The westward wheelman crashing the southern scene is Martin Truex Jr. The leading money man on the year, Martin has made a habit of winning and hopes to continue his ways today. Here's Kyle Larson. This young man has a penchant for racing hard against the outside wall. You might want to be careful, Kyle. The lady has been known to knock an overconfident driver down a few pegs. And yes, who could forget NASCAR's favorite son, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He needs no introduction, but we give him one out of respect and adulation. As these motorized chariots begin their procession, we take our first break, but we'll soon bring you the thrills and spills of the Southern 500.
Hello there, welcome into NASCAR Race Hub, powered by Ram Trucks. I'm Shannon Spake. He's Adam Alexander. We want to wish you guys a very happy Labor Day. Thanks for spending an hour of your day with us. I have a question for you. You know when the King was out there on the racetrack and wouldn't come back in? If somebody told you to tell him he had to come in, you would say what?
I would probably say he doesn't listen anyway. I wouldn't waste my breath. In fact, there are drivers in the race that were hoping they could have been out there as long as he was.
He led more laps.
Yeah, if you know what I mean. And I'm not going to mention any names. Let's go to the Daily Fuel. Some post-race news out of Darlington last night. Concerning the 88 of Dale Jr., NASCAR officials found 2 loose lug nuts, which will most likely come with a $20,000 fine and a 1-race suspension for crew chief Greg Ives.
And flashing back to Saturday, Adam, it was just the beginning of a very good weekend for Denny Hamlin as he won the Xfinity race, his 5th at the track and most for him at any racetrack. Hamlin led 4 times for a total of 33 laps, including those final 2. It was Hamlin's 17th career Xfinity victory.
Can you say crossover? And Sunday, north of the border, the Camping World Truck Series at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, where Austin Cindric led twice for 32 laps, taking the win and locking himself into the playoffs. But everybody talking about what happened on the final lap. Cindric into Kaz Grala. That was for the lead and the eventual win. We should point out Grala won the season opener at Daytona. He was already locked into the playoffs. Good to have you with us. As Shannon said, on this Monday, America's crew chief Larry McReynolds is here. You want to give a nod, Larry, to everyone at home?
A nod.
Okay. and Michael Waltrip back with us. We haven't seen you in a while, but we're happy you're here.
I'm happy I'm here, back from Canada, where I watched that last lap action. Crazy,
yeah.
right?
What'd you think of that?
I just want people to quit splitting hairs. It sounds like they're okay if you go into turn 5 and bump them and then go into turn 10 and wreck them. That's okay. I don't get it. I didn't like what I saw. It was kind of hard for me to watch. I wanted to see a battle. But, I mean, they're racing for the playoffs, and we've seen that 3 of the 5 years we've been to Canada to race. Those turns are slow. It gives you a chance to put the bumper to someone. That's what happened.
And Austin Cindric, I will say this, not that I condone what he did. He actually took ownership in what he did, but the thing I picked up on, he said, that's the only way I was probably going to make the playoffs this year.
Race others as you expect them to race you. There could be more to the story later in the year.
Drivers have long memories. Okay, so there was a lot of buildup for this weekend. We had a week off before. It was a throwback. How did it live up to the hype?
You know, the entire weekend, whether it was the truck race in Canada, the 2 races in Darlington, what I loved about it, you just didn't know who was going to win that race until almost the checkered flag was waving in the air. And this throwback weekend, it's becoming one of the coolest race weekends on the circuit. And just to see the crowd that was there last night, it was absolutely amazing.
I have breaking news. I'm a bit of a weirdo. I sat on the end of my bed and I watched Dale Earnhardt charge from 17th to the win at Talladega in 2000, and I love that. Last night in Darlington gave me everything I wanted out of a race. There was great racing all night long. And then Denny Hamlin, that amazing charge to victory lane. Man, I was as happy as I've ever been after a race was over yesterday.
The breaking news was that you're a weirdo or you're sitting at the end of your bed?
I'll say this. It's not fake news. He is a weirdo. weirdo.
The two goes hand in hand.
Okay, so everywhere you looked this weekend, there were reminders of the 80s. You like the generation of the 80s?
Love the 80s.
Decade? Okay, so they had crimped hair, pastels, and fishnets all on display. But today, it's all about the 90s, as in 90 seconds, because here is the race highlight in that amount of time.
For the third annual Throwback Weekend here at Darlington, cars that represent Pearson, Wallace, Martin, Dale Sr., Ray Hendrick, Davey Allison, all ready to go on display.
Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex Jr. on the front row. They see the green flag going up in the air. We're underway with the running of the Bojangles Southern 500.
Lap 16, and we are under the caution flag for the first time here this afternoon.
Trevor Bayne and A.J. Allmendinger will be heading pit side early.
An early issue for you. What was the diagnosis on your Ford?
Man, it just blew up. I mean, pretty inopportune time to have that happen, but it's never a good time to have an engine failure.
Truex down to the inside. He gives a run to Kyle Larson, and again, Martin Truex Jr. has picked up the stage win by inches over Kyle Larson.
Double turn one, Daniel Suarez hard into the outside retaining wall. He picked up a Darlington stripe at the other end of the track a lap or two ago. This is more than a stripe. He nailed it hard.
17 stage wins for Martin Truex Jr.
That's the way it will wrap up stage 2 of the race tonight.
Oh, and he overshoots the pit. Denny Hamlin overshoots the commitment line, has to go back around after locking the Toyota down. Here's Hamlin. Truex is in the wall. Martin Truex Jr. is in the wall, and it's Hamlin going to the lead.
Get out the brooms because he is going to sweep Darlington for the weekend. He won yesterday, and Denny Hamlin has won the Bojangles Southern 500.
Okay, so how incredible is this stat? In his 12 starts at Darlington, Denny Hamlin has finished on the lead lap in every single one of those starts. This is a very tough racetrack, and he added to those stats last night. Third place in stage 1, second in stage 2, and then, of course, taking home the victory. Here's what Denny had to say after the race.
To do it in the fashion we did, you know, yesterday was a crossover move. Today was running down the leader from 18 seconds back, and in a race that I felt like I almost gave it away, missing pit road, so it would have been exciting. He was wheeling it. I saw him up against the wall. I was up against the wall with 5 laps to go. We were banging off of the wall, trying to, you know, get every lap time that we could, all the while trying to pass lap cars, and it was just a complete mess. But man, it was really exciting.
What a night for Joe Gibbs Racing. 1-2, Kyle Busch bringing it home second. Kurt Busch right behind him. Top 5 for Eric Jones in his first Darlington start. And then Martin Truex Jr., who did win stage 1 and stage 2, finished 8th. And then a little further down, 9th, Kevin Harvick. He was our pole sitter. Jimmy Johnson, 7-time in 12th.
Let's just look at some drivers outside the top 10. And I go with the guys from Team Penske. Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, 15th. And 18th. Ty Dillon was 13th at the end of the night. And Kyle Larson, despite being top 5 stage 1 and stage 2, finished in the 14th position. In all, he led 124 laps in the race on Sunday evening. What stood out to you about the 42, Larry? Because they were so strong early in that race.
Yeah, and that almost concerned me. Yeah, as you said, they led 124 laps, but I almost felt like, were they going to be able to keep up with a changing racetrack? Now, other things happen. He gets into the wall. He cuts the right rear tire down. They have to cut the crush panels out. But that told me right there, especially in the heat of the day when that track was really low on grip, that, you know, the Chevrolets aren't quite as bad as maybe they've been saying they are, because he looked awfully good the first third to half of that race.
Michael, we spent so much of this season talking about Furniture Row and Martin Truex Jr. being all the way up here and Joe Gibbs Racing being down here. Have they evened it out? Have they caught up?
I think for sure. I think those two teams have shared information. I know that Andy Graves, who's the leader of the Toyota relationship with both teams, is a genius, and he's got those teams right where they need to be as we're marching toward the playoffs. Joe Gibbs Racing is in great shape. We saw a lot of speed, not only out of Denny last night, but also out of Kyle Busch. Those cars are going to be strong. I think Kenseth could be a player too before it's all over in his final year there at Joe Gibbs Racing.
We talked about a Chevrolet. We've talked about the Toyotas. What about the Fords? They showed some speed we haven't seen in a while last night, Larry.
Yeah, Harvick especially showed some speed early. Keselowski, he kind of snuck in there. Joey Logano final, not certainly the run they were looking for. I do think that everybody is starting to get just a little bit more aggressive as we get close to the playoffs. I was texting back and forth with Doug Yates. We know Clint Boyer had a little bit of an engine issue, and he said, you know what? It's that time of year. We're starting to step it up, and sometimes you step across the line. I actually broke a valve spring on that 14 engine.
It is time to step it up because the playoffs begin in less than 2 weeks. You got that in your date book there, Michael?
I do.
So let's look at the standings here. These are the regular season standings. The one thing we learned on Sunday evening, Martin Truex Jr., he is your regular season champ. But I want you to look at this, how tight it is for second. Only 9 points separating Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson as we go to Richmond on Saturday night. The reason that is a big deal is the playoff points we reward for where you finish inside the top 10. You get 2 more for finishing second than you do for finishing third. So big incentive there. Truex right here going to get those 15 points. And don't look now, but the 7-time champion Jimmie Johnson, top 10 in the regular season standings. He's in line for 1 more playoff point. Now we go to the page that shows you all of the playoff points. And let's start with Jimmie Johnson. He's got 16 now and would get that 17th if he stays inside the top 10. Guy going in the other direction, Brad Keselowski, 14, but he's going to go to 19 when you add in his playoff bonus at the end of the regular season. And here's Denny Hamlin, the winner on Sunday night, going from here to here. But let's face it, it's all about Martin Truex Jr., 52 playoff points because he is the regular season champion.
Big picture, it was a good night. We want to win, though, and this is such a special racetrack. To come up 2 laps short with a right front tire that blows out is a tough one to swallow. But proud of my team, proud of everybody on this team for the whole season, and clinching a regular season is a big deal for all of us, especially me. And this just the playoff points, you know, the bonus points are going to be huge for us. So got 1 more week to get some more. Hopefully we can do that, but a little bittersweet tonight.
Martin Truex Jr. in the catbird seat, right? He is way ahead. And this is the first time that we're really dealing with these playoff points in the playoffs. I've heard you say so many times this year, it's like luggage. You're packing the luggage and you're bringing it to Homestead. How do you think it's going to affect the playoffs?
It just gives you a bye. I mean, think about it. It's like home field advantage in the NFL. You race hard all year long. You grab those playoff points, and you can rely on them if you slip or slide in one of those first 3 races. Heck, I think Truex is already into round 2 because of his playoff points. And Jimmie Johnson, he needs to fight for every point he can get. If you have a problem in one of the races, you can rely on those playoff points to get you to the next round.
Yeah, I mean, just think about this. Above and beyond the 4 races that Martin Truex Jr. has won, he has won 17 stages. And there are still 7 playoff points available this Saturday night, 5 for winning the race and 1 for winning each of those 2 stages. But then I think about drivers like Jamie McMurray. We feel like if he gets into the playoffs, he may get some for his regular season finish. Right now, he has not a single playoff point. So there's a big disparity when you look at the 16 drivers that's possibly going to run for this championship, just on where they're at with playoff points. It's not luggage, it's a playoff point bucket. I've been telling you that all year long.
So you're going with bucket.
It's a playoff point bucket.
I think we'll just agree to disagree.
Hey, you know, so Truex gets the clincher on Sunday evening and wins the regular season. But those guys behind him battling for second, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson. It's going to be fun to see how that comes down to the wire this weekend at Richmond.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dogfight because just think about this. Whoever finishes second in the points, they're going to get 10 playoff points. Whoever finishes third, I don't know why we skipped 9, but they're going to get 8, and then so on down. So, yeah, those points could be very, very precious, especially when you look at the history of this elimination.
And I'm glad you pointed out old JJ, 7-timer, because he's got a playoff point. He needs some more playoff points. We know that he's going to be tough come playoff time, so it's going to be interesting to see how he can perform at Richmond. Can he gather up some more? And I like what you said, Larry. Those Chevys look good at Darlington, some of them, so we know their speed in the cars. Can they get them tuned up for the playoffs?
My kids would say it was because 7, 8, 9. But you get it? No. I'll explain it to you a little bit later. Okay, so today is obviously all about Denny Hamlin. We want you guys at home to get involved. It's our first Connect Live question of the day. And here it is. Is Denny Hamlin a future Hall of Famer? That is the question we are throwing out. We want you to log on to your computers, on your iPads, foxsports.com/vote, and let us know what you think.
Looking forward to that, and still to come on the Hub. Denny Hamlin sealed the deal in Darlington and got his 2nd win of the year. Find out how he did it. It's on Winners Weekend. And speaking of Hamlin, it's amazing he even finished in the top 5 after missing pit road. What went wrong with 54 to go? We break it down and see how he overcame the adversity. It's Next Level on the way.
If you're a NASCAR fan, there's a new podcast for you to subscribe to. Heritage Road, the podcast that drives you down memory lane, takes you under the hood, and gets you behind the wheel of America's favorite racing competition. They talk to the hardworking drivers, crewmen, and fans that made NASCAR possible then and now. From NASCAR royalty Bobby Allison to the broadcasters that brought racing into homes around the country, they've got all the stories you've probably never heard before. Hosted by the voice of Texas Motor Speedway, Rich Phillips, and brought to you by Busch, the beer that has supported racing since 1979. Subscribe to Heritage Road today for free wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's time for the Bear Fast Action Recap, looking back at Denny Hamlin's winning night. He started from 9th position, worked his way up to 1st, and was fast all night. However, on lap 314, he overshot the entrance to pit road and had to stay on track, losing 10 seconds to the leaders. Hamlin made his pit stop and on fresh tires found his way back to the front, taking home his 31st career win and 2nd at Darlington.
Yes, so Denny Hamlin put on quite a show in the closing laps last night. And one of the reasons it was so dramatic was that he had to overcome a pretty big mistake. So let's go next level. Michael, you said the mistake overshooting pit road was actually the result of something that had happened earlier in the race. What was that?
It was a previous pit stop, and you can see when we go to the video, Denny Hamlin has a huge lead here. There's Hamlin across the start-finish line. 2nd place, Martin Truex is all the way back there. They're getting ready to come to pit road, Larry McReynolds, and we know how tricky it is getting to pit road, but you have to be precise and you have to be strong in order to get there.
Yeah, there's so much ground can be made up on the entrance of pit road, and then from a crew chief standpoint, it's such a chess match because when you see one of these leaders pit, you know you're giving up a 2nd to a 2.5 a lap to those fresher tires.
And you can see Hamlin here. His team has a great pit stop. That registered in Denny's mind. He said, I launched out of my box good, but when I hit the back straightaway, I looked in my mirror. Here comes Martin Truex Jr., drives around me and takes the lead. Denny put that all on himself. He said, I've got to get to pit road faster or I'm going to give up time.
And if you're going to try to pick up time, getting to pit road at Darlington, that is a dangerous game because it's not easy to do under green, Michael, and that's where the mistake came later in the race.
I love it when people say, just make a routine pit stop. You can't do that at Darlington. It's too difficult. And you can see Denny Hamlin might have been going 1 mile an hour too fast when he slid past the entrance.
But there was a blessing that he didn't get on the pit road because he drove across the commitment box. Had he have made it to pit road after driving across that box, he would have had to serve a drive-through penalty, a pass-through penalty. Had he have done that, 2 trips down pit road, no way he could have got back and won that race.
Take me inside the mind of a driver. Challenging to refocus after you make a mistake like that?
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to Mike Wheeler, his crew chief. He got on the radio as soon as they ran a couple of laps. He did the math, Larry, and he said, you run me 31.40 second laps, we're going to win this race by 2 seconds. How refreshing is that to the driver to hear his crew chief tell him to run a lap time, then he goes out and runs that lap time, and he's going to win the race.
Easier said than done, because what does he have to deal with when he gets back out onto the track? Lap traffic. And what's interesting is that different guys raced him differently.
Well, Landon Castle is trying to get out of the way, but Denny's in a hurry. He doesn't give him time to get out of the way, and he has to shove him. Luckily, he keeps his momentum going.
Yeah, so many agendas here. You see Jamie McMurray in the 1 car. He's still fighting for position on the lead lap, but you had drivers with much fresher tires that was driving by these guys. You had drivers trying to get back on the lead lap. There just were a lot of agendas right there, especially in as long of green flag run as we had been on at that point.
In a place like Darlington, the margin for error is slim, right? And then you make a mistake with like 50 laps to go. Did you think there was any chance he could recover from this?
You know, when I watched that race Sunday night, I loved every moment of it. And it took me back to when Dale Earnhardt charged from 17th to get the win at Talladega in 2000. To me, that was one of the greatest 4 or 5 laps in the history of NASCAR. This was equally as great. Denny Hamlin did a perfect job to put himself in a position to win that race. Does he win if Martin Truex doesn't have a flat tire? I'm not sure, Larry.
Always look at the trends of the race. I would have never believed we would have went to the checkered flag without a caution right there. That would have changed the complexity of everything.
And now Hamlin's got some much needed momentum as we head to the playoffs in a couple of weeks' time. All right, let's go to college football. We're on the air Saturday with a doubleheader on Fox. Nebraska, Oregon gets us going 4 p.m. Eastern time. And then a matchup that could decide maybe who's going to play for a national championship down the road. Stanford, USC. It's 8:30 on Fox. We'll see you then.
Big game. All right, coming up, he battled back and won the Southern 500 in dramatic fashion last night. And next, we're going to hear from the 2-time Darlington winner. Denny Hamlin is in tonight's Winners Weekend. Plus, how did the night play out for the other top 10 finishers? We're going to hear from the Busch brothers, Austin Dillon, and Eric Jones when the hub rolls on.
Now we take a look at our Ram Guts and Glory moment from this past weekend. With Hurricane Harvey hitting South Texas, NASCAR stepped up to honor those dealing with this great adversity. It was good to see the Lone Star State well represented this weekend. Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with all those impacted. And if you would like to make a donation through the Red Cross, you can go to redcross.org, or you can simply text the word Harvey to 90999 to make a $10 contribution. Shannon?
So much already raised. Okay, back to yesterday's race. A little brotherly love rounding out the top 3. Had Kyle Busch finishing second, Kurt Busch finishing third. In fact, it was Kurt's best finish since his winning race at the Daytona 500 to start the season. Here's what Kyle and Kurt had to say.
Really good effort for us, really good race for us. You know, I certainly wish that we could have kept pace with the 11 a little bit longer. We were right there with him for a long time, longer than we had all night long in that final stint. But he got through a couple lap cars a little quicker than I did, and then they got side by side, and then I got sucked into the fence, and after that it just wasn't the same. I was hoping we could hang with him there a little bit more, but I think I made too many adjustments to our car and got us out of place there for the last 2 stints.
I think we were right in the spot we wanted to be in. If a yellow would have come out late, we had good short run speed, and we hung on that long run at the end to bring it home top 3. Overall, with Monster and the Southern 500, it's fun to be there to win one of these big ones, but we didn't quite get it today.
All right, Larry Mack, let's talk Busch brothers. While most guys out on that track were struggling with the handling of the car as the night progressed, these guys, kind of like the Alabama Crimson Tide, right? Just got better and better as the night progressed. I got you there. I got
that
you.
Roll Tide. Yeah, there's no question that was a ever-changing racetrack, especially making the transition from daytime to nighttime. And I'll go back to the early part of that race. They were not talking a lot about Kyle and Kurt Busch, but it's almost like they made the right adjustments, and they were absolutely at their best late in the race, even though the two of them were on a little bit different tire strategies at the end.
It's incredible to think that this was Kurt's best finish since the first race of the season. What have you seen out of that team?
Yeah, after they won Daytona, I mean, they just were flat. Plus, once they finally had some good runs going, just like they were inconsistent. Again, inconsistent. They just were absolutely all over the place. But I look now, and it's like they're starting to come to life when they need to come to life. They only have those 4 top 5s, but the good news for them, they've had 2 consecutive top 5s at Bristol and at Darlington.
Speaking of coming to life, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about Kyle Busch and this winless streak that he was on. How is he setting himself up for the playoffs?
I think absolutely perfect. I think we're going to be talking about Kyle Busch very, very deep into these playoffs, because if you go back to how strong he was at Indy, and then he got into the issue with Martin Truex Jr., ended up finishing 34th. In those 5 races since then, all top 10 finishes, 2 wins, 3 top 2 finishes. So I think he and Adam Stevens and that 18 team, they are starting to peak at the right time.
Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, second and third. We had some youngsters rounding out the top 5. One who is already in the playoffs and one who's knocking on the door to get his first win. Here's what Eric Jones and Austin Dillon had to say after the race.
We did a good job just not missing our marks, and the car allowed me to do that. You know, it was really consistent all night, and I wanted that 41 because that would have put us on the same strategy of him, and if losing at 11 to 18, I would have felt pretty good about it. So still a great night for us. We've had a rough year after we've won Charlotte, but we're hitting the stride at the right time when we need to going into the playoffs.
You know, it's a good day for us. We never really were up front and really contending for the lead, but we were always in the top 10, and a big learning day for myself. So I feel like I'm a lot better off for the next time I come back, but just a tough track, and it takes a lot of knowledge to get around it correctly, and I feel like I'm, one step closer to that after tonight.
There's Eric Jones. I want to rewind to Austin Dillon first. He said they are hitting their stride at the right time. Great run last night. But, Michael, here are their results throughout the summer. Maybe not where they would want to be.
I think they were stronger a year ago when they were like one position away to advancing to the round of 8 in the playoffs. They're certainly going playoff racing thanks to a great call back at Charlotte by Justin Alexander, the crew chief. Got them in victory lane. Another good strategy last night. Got them a top 5 finish. But I'd like to see some more performance throughout the other races.
I think the other thing you have to watch for these guys is the confidence that they have and the momentum they have built. Both are essential for the postseason, and let's not forget Ryan Newman, his teammate, also in the top 10, so that should help them out when you look at the long haul. Okay, Eric Jones, we heard from him there. Still unable to get to victory lane, not locked in the playoffs, which is amazing when you look at their last 13 races.
Boy, I love this. This kid is hitting his stride. I know how talented he is. I watch him come up through the Truck Series. We knew when he came Cup racing, he not only would be a winner one day, he's going to be a champion one day. That's how talented that young man is. And he's got a fast car. It'd be really cool to see them make a run throughout the playoffs.
It would be so unbelievable to see him running for a title because, as you said, they're putting up numbers right now that would indicate they could not just get in, they could compete once they're there.
And how fun would that be? Fresh young faces in the Cup Series, that's what we love. This kid's got a lot of talent.
Hey, what are you doing for dinner tonight? You want to get together? Let's get together. Bloomin' Monday is on with the number 4 car's top 10 finish. Be sure to head to your local Outback Steakhouse and claim your free Bloomin' Onion. Thank you for that, Kevin Harvick. Denny Hamlin rewrote the history books in his throwback number 11 car on Sunday. What he had to overcome and what was going through his head, it's next on The Hub.
Battling back from 18 seconds back to come back and win is extra special. Throwback weekend with the Flying 11. It's a storybook weekend that I'll never forget.
After the break, it's all things Denny Hamlin, our Connect Live about driver 11. Is he a future Hall of Famer? Vote now. FoxSports.com/vote.
As we wind down the laps at Darlington, a familiar face has taken the lead. That marauding madman, Martin Truex Jr., has stormed to the front with only a few laps to go. Right behind him, his nemesis on the night, Denny Hamlin. Hamlin is on fresher tires, and the finish line cannot come quick enough for Truex. Tick-tock tolls the clock for Truex, and uh-oh, disaster strikes! Trouble for Truex as he meets the wall that so many before him have. And just like that, the race is decided.
I love Throwback Weekend, and last night all about the 1980s at Darlington.
It was totally gnarly.
Totally what?
Like tubular to the max.
To the max.
Yes, like when Denny Hamlin missed pit road, I was like, gag me with a spoon. But then he won, and I was like, psych, that was rad.
Just stop, okay? Let's go to Winners Weekend before we're fired.
As if.
Welcome to Darlington Raceway, the Southern 500.
This is a race drivers put in the category of bucket list wins.
The weather is absolutely perfect, and the fans have turned out.
Who can become the next tamer of Darlington? They see the green flag going up in the air. We're underway with the running of the Bojangles Southern 500. Side by side, they race as the green flag falls, heading into turn number 1, just like that.
I think it's the most physically grueling racetrack that we have and race that we have all year.
Tough on equipment. I can tell you that we are always worried about making 500 miles around here. It ends up, tearing up the car and tearing up the body.
This race drains you like no other.
Hamlin pulls to the inside in this battle for second. But when they come down to the line, Truex indeed will hold off Denny Hamlin.
When there was daylight on the racetrack, we weren't as good. We definitely trended to the freer side. The car was a handful, but we still noticed that our car was extremely strong on the longer runs.
I just get loose, really loose. Got a couple rounds on the left right here, as well as a little bit of air, so should be a little bit better.
I think a lot of guys are fighting the same kind of balance issues, but we actually probably worked on it the most we have all year.
Again, the battle for second heats up. Hamlin
Hamlin is all over the back bumper of Martin Truex Jr.
Here they come now, racing back to the green checkered flag. Truex down to the inside. He gives a run to Kyle Larson, and again, Martin Truex Jr. has picked up the stage win.
Side by side coming on pit road. It's going to be, looks like Denny Hamlin by inches over Martin Truex Jr.
I think the reasons we came out on pit road first like 2 or 3 times is really from the pit crew. I can tell when they're in rhythm. I challenged them before the day started. I saw them. I said, how about if we have 12 stops, give me 10 below 11.5, and they met that challenge. And you know, it's great to have a pit crew that you can challenge and they can step up their game each and every time you hit the pit road.
Back to the green flag, it's Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin gets the jump into turn number 1. He'll slide up across the nose of Truex. Hamlin to the lead.
Truex with a lead of 2 seconds now over Denny Hamlin.
Trouble in turn number 2. One car spinning around, and there goes that nice, easy run to the green and white checkered flag for Martin Truex Jr.
For the 17th time this season, stage winner, MTJ.
Green flag out once again on the break. It is Denny Hamlin. He's down on the low side of the racetrack, passes his teammate and heads to turn 1.
Denny, he's actually one of the better drivers out there as far as managing his tires and equipment and sets a car up around that. But we were ready for guys to short pit us around, 295, 300, which they did.
41's your first one of the top 4. 78 coming this time, 78 coming. Keep working, bud, going by the math. All these guys have tires.
We're trying to calculate what kind of lap time I need to run to split the stage up into 2 different segments. What you don't plan for is getting passed over and over and over by all these lap cars on fresher tires. But I did a really good job, I thought, of maintaining the lap time that I needed to make it work.
I think the 11 cars staying out this long is really pushing it. They're going to lose so much time to these leaders that have already pitted and got those fresh tires. They're staying out there awful long, I think.
We're down to 58 laps to go, waiting to see when Denny Hamlin will come in.
This time.
Denny Hamlin applies the brakes, downshifts, makes the left-hand turn. He is on pit road. Oh, and he overshoots the pit.
Stay out, you missed it, stay out.
I tried to shortcut the corner, but when I did that, I got stuff all over my tires. I wasn't gonna make pit road speed, and then I was gonna nail the end of the wall, and so I was like, this is just, everything was bad was happening right there. The race was flashing before my eyes.
Seeing him give up 10 seconds, basically stopping on the racetrack under green, I knew giving up 10 seconds was hard to make up.
Right now, Denny, 11 seconds behind the race leader, Martin Truex Jr.
As every couple laps clicked off, I could tell the 78 was slowing down. Our gap from him to us was dwindling. It gave us hope for sure.
Denny Hamlin's charge continues. He's running in the 2nd spot, less than 6 seconds behind Martin Truex.
Keep up this pace, you win by 2 seconds. Focus.
This is going to be an amazing story if Denny Hamlin catches these guys because he was so far back.
Hamlin having a little bit of trouble with the lap traffic. He still can't get by Castle off turn 2.
And he's going to hit him. Contact.
I was fighting for every inch that I could. We were inside 5 or 6 laps to go. Any lap car that was getting in my way I was not going to have any of it.
And the gap back to Denny Hamlin continuing to shrink.
Showtime at Darlington with 3 laps to go. Here comes Hamlin. He's within a car length now on the back straightaway.
Here's Hamlin. Truex is at the wall.
Clear, all clear. We're all good.
He was already smoking. I saw the smoke coming out of his car with 5 laps to go. So I saw blood in the water, just made me push a little bit harder and made him push a little bit too much over the edge.
Denny Hamlin, a remarkable comeback, 1 to go.
Will not get to.
Denny Hamlin has won the Bojangles Southern 500.
How about that? Oh, yeah!
The Southern 500 is always special, but to win it in this shape and fashion, it just means more. It's just a storybook weekend that I'll never forget.
Denny Hamlin slowly proving himself to be one of the most successful drivers in the garage. Take a look at some of those victories. 2-time Southern 500 winner, Daytona 500, 5 wins at Martinsville, 4 at Pocono, 2 very tough racetracks. And then, of course, Richmond and Loudon. 13 years in the Cup Series. Those are some pretty impressive races to have on your list of wins.
Let me read off to you his last 5 wins. Daytona, Watkins Glen, Richmond, Loudon, New Hampshire, Darlington, South Carolina. Those tracks have absolutely nothing in common. It speaks to his versatility and the numbers that Shannon just pointed out.
He's just a winner. Ever since he showed up, he's been in victory lane, and I don't think you can argue that he's a future Hall of Famer. I mean, he just has so much talent, and he's accomplished so many things behind the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Darlington. That was his second win there in the Cup Series. But I remember well over a decade ago him coming there before he was running in the Cup Series full-time, and he ran an Xfinity Series race for Joe Gibbs Racing and ended up finishing in the top 10, ran up in the top 10 all day long. It's just been one of those racetracks that he has had his arms around, a lot like Pocono, since the very first time he raced there.
I mean, 31 Cup wins, 17 Xfinity wins, and 2 truck wins. He's won at everything he's ever done, and that's what I think of when I think of Denny Hamlin, a guy that can get it done in any series on any type of racetrack.
I think one thing that has changed for him, besides maturing a little bit, is Denny was going through crew chiefs pretty rapidly. Yeah, he and Mike Ford had a lot of success together. Then he had Darian Grubb. Then he had Dave Rogers. It's like he just didn't have the chemistry he was looking for. He asked for Mike Wheeler. This is their second season together, and I think they'll be together for a long time because that combination is working.
And you know what I love? They didn't start this season too strong. There was a little bit of performance issues. They didn't have a great start to the year, but they've been able to put it all together. And now as we're tiptoeing toward the chase for the championship, the playoffs, they're ready to go.
Michael, you brought this up, so let's go to our Connect Live vote, foxsports.com/vote. It's real simple. Yes, no, is Denny Hamlin a future Hall of Famer? The early voting says just a tick on the north side of no, but I think when you look at his numbers and winning some of the crown jewels, it's pretty hard to argue that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday.
There's only been 2 drivers that have won more races than Denny Hamlin and not won a championship. That's Mark Martin and Fireball Roberts. So that tells you what kind of elite company Denny's in, and he's only 36 years old. I mean, he's got a lot of great years ahead of him. He has a great relationship with his sponsor, FedEx, Toyota, all the people that support Joe Gibbs Racing. He's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah, we're not stopping the numbers where they're at. Yeah, he has the 31 Cup wins. He has multiple wins in the Xfinity Series, including the win there on Saturday at Darlington. So he's won the Daytona 500. He's won the Southern 500 twice. There is no way, even if the numbers don't change, and they will change, 31 Cup wins, he is absolutely a Hall of Famer.
And think about this, too. Since he showed up, take Jimmy Johnson out of the equation. Jimmy's Superman. We know what he's accomplished. But Brad Keselowski, he's won a championship. Kyle Busch has won a championship. Denny Hamlin is right there to be in the same group with those guys if he can just get that championship. He's won as many races. He's been as successful. I think it's just a no-brainer that he's a Hall of Famer one day.
No-brainer. Let's close the vote and see what you guys said.
Shoot, I don't have any brains.
57% said no, but I will tell you that Joe Gibbs, who knows sports teams, he said that Denny Hamlin is a great sports story, and I think we can all sit up here and agree with that. But folks at home, you guys weighed in. Okay, so what about the bubble drivers? This Saturday, it's their last chance to make the playoffs. What about their seasons as a whole? We're going to go overdrive. You're going to play along at home. Are you Team Larry Mack or Team MW? FoxSports.com/vote. Keep it open and be ready.
We're back on NASCAR Race Hub. Time for a little overdrive. This is where we put 30 seconds on the clock. We're going to throw out a series of questions about the bubble drivers, and you two go at it, toe-to-toe. And the fans at home can get involved at foxsports.com/vote. First question about Chase Elliott. He's on the north side of the cut line right now. Would you say he has encountered a sophomore slump after that successful rookie season? Larry, you're first.
I don't know how you could say he's suffering a sophomore slump. He's going to be in the playoffs again for the second year. Yeah, we know he needs to win, but no sophomore slump.
Let me just get one thing clear. Is North good or bad?
That's good.
That's good.
Okay. He is in a bit of a slump, I would say, but it's more about his team. We haven't seen the performance lately from Hendrick Motorsports that we thought we would see from those guys.
Did you hear the buzzer? That means time is up. At home, they say 70% no. He is not having
No,
a sophomore slump.
Say that 5 times fast. Sophomore slump.
Oh, Mike's 0 for 2 so far on the fan
so the
vote.
next question, Michael, you're going to go first on this one. Will Matt Kenseth make the championship 4? So will he be part of those 4 guys at Homestead racing for a championship?
I think so. He's a champion already. He's such a talented racer. He's got so much to race for. This could be his last year. We don't know what his plans are for next year for sure yet. I think that Matt Kenseth puts together a strong run throughout the early part of the playoffs and makes it to Miami.
Yeah, I think he's going to go deep into the playoff, but he will not go to the championship 4. He has not made it to the championship 4 the first 3 years of this format, and I just think all the changes going on over there, that's going to eventually weigh on him, Jason Ratcliffe, and that 20 team. And there's the buzzer again.
74% says nope. Sorry.
This is an official Overdrive scorecard. It now reads Larry Mack 2, Michael Waltrip nothing. Question number 3. Will Jamie McMurray make it out of the opening round of the playoffs? He's missed the last 2 years after getting into the postseason. What do you think, Larry?
You know, if it was not for the way this point system is structured, I would say yes. But right now, he has no playoff points. Yeah, he's going to be consistent in round 1, but he will not move beyond round 1.
Yes, he will. He is such a talented racer. That team showing speed. You saw how fast Kyle Larson was last night in Darlington.
That's not Kyle Larson.
But this guy's he's just one notch off of what Kyle's doing lately. I think that team tunes it up, goes into playoffs, and he's a great story to follow, not only through the first round, but into the next.
Better get him
Michael, did you like Denny's comeback last night?
Yes.
Because you're going to need one. 74% at home say no. Larry leading this thing 3-0.
All right, here we go. Clint Boyer is up next. We got to take into consideration he's with a new team, new manufacturer. Has Clint Boyer over or underperformed this season?
Under. He's underperformed. He hasn't done anything near what I expected him to do. When he drove for us at Michael Waltrip Racing, he won multiple races during the course of the season. This year, he hasn't led laps. He hasn't run up front. We haven't seen him be a contender week in and week out. I think he's underperformed.
I totally challenge that. He has overperformed. Yeah, he has not won. He has 3 second-place finishes. Just think about it. A new team and an organization that moved to Ford from Chevrolet. So in my book, when you stack everything in, I think he's overperforming. I think he'll win a race before the year's over.
I don't.
Guess what?
Michael's on the board.
Good job, Mikey.
I got this figured out. Just be negative and you'll win.
It's 3-1 Larry McReynolds. We go to the next question. It's about Joey Logano. Won the springtime race at Richmond, which was encumbered. Needs to win Saturday night. Does he get it done and make his way into the playoffs?
I do believe he will win this race on Saturday night. I do. I think he will win, and I think he will get into the playoffs.
Do you think that he'll pass inspection afterwards? Because that was the issue in the spring.
It was. But they haven't forgotten how to get around Richmond, and I think we're starting to see some speed. I think he has a shot at getting the victory lane on Saturday.
I think it's going to be a great race and a lot of fun. There's going to be so many storylines going on, but Joey Logano will not win Saturday night in Richmond. No way. Where's that beeper? I think I might have.
Hey, I'm glad you're not here tomorrow because Joey's on the show. You said he will not make the playoffs.
I told you, I got this figured out.
The fans at home agree. Hey, great comeback. Great comeback, but you lost 3-2. All right? Larry, the fans, they love you. That's why you're America's
crew chief.
But
he's absolutely right. Just be negative. You're in.
Hey, what about this?
Are you on Twitter?
Who knows?
Have you already learned that?
Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, the 2 rookies. Maybe they can win Saturday night and lock into the postseason.
Once again, happy Labor Day to everyone joining us here this evening. Tomorrow on The Hub, it's Tuesday, so that means get the earmuffs ready. Radioactive from Darlington is up.
Joey Logano will be here. He's hoping to win and get into the playoffs this weekend. And you know who's all excited about everything? Here for the full hour.
No.
Mark it down.
No.
Kenny Wallace.
Never excited at all. And we're going to break down that great Xfinity finish between Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin tomorrow on Hub, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on FS1.
And you know what's happening Saturday? Larry, report for duty, sir. Race day is back. 3:30 Eastern time, getting ready for the regular season finale at Eastern. You can watch it on FS1.
Yeah, it'll be an hour and a half show this week.
Yes, all righty. Time now for today's Social Garage. So 7-time Darlington winner Jeff Gordon could not make it to this year's Southern 500. He was on vacation with his family and went to a tractor pull.
Is he driving that tractor?
He goes from exotic places overseas to a tractor pull. And of course, Ryan Blaney with the facial hair, he went all in this weekend. But Kevin Hamlin, spotter for Casey Kane, he tweeted this. This is Ty Sipes. This is not Kevin Hamlin. And he said, "This is your winner of the facial hair 500. I love it. The lamb chops, the handlebars, he's got everything going on."
When I first saw the picture, I thought it was Kevin Hamlin. I'm like, oh my gosh, you talk about going all in. It doesn't even look like him. That's the reason it doesn't look like him. It wasn't him.
It's Ty Sipes.
Absolutely.
You know what I love doing? Watching the last 4 laps of Talladega from 2000, and I'm weird. Can we recap?
Early.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm clear about it. I do.
What do you guys? Can you guys do the facial hair? Would you ever go all in?
Mine looks like dirt.
Dirt.
Just dirt.
Like dirty.
Face dirty.
Larry Mac dirty.
I gotta say, this is like an Xfinity Series reunion for us.
Oh, I love it.
It is.
When you're here, I just get all kinds of nervous because I don't know what's coming.
Thank you guys at home for joining us. So much fun with you guys here. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.